Hello everyone and welcome back to the Skyrim audio adventure. Don't really have much to say here because I've just been kind of sprinting to get this episode out. I did apply for YouTube monetization because I got a comment about someone asking me to turn on super thanks, and so I tried to do that, but my application for monetization was denied by YouTube based on the grounds that I don't create anything original. So whatever your opinion on that, if you still want to support the show, then I still have a Patreon, and you are welcome to donate to that. I'm going to explore other means of monetization, including merchandise, and tweaking my channel a little bit and reapplying to monetization, but that's I'll probably chronicle that in a different video. But with that said, please like, comment, and subscribe. It does help. And without further ado, let's get into Chapter 9 of Book 2 of the Skyrim audio adventure. The Caller. As Aela and Anno were led to the central tower of Fellglow Keep, the rough stone walls seemed to grow, as if breathing. Those gaudy 3 stories expanded and gnawed at the scenery more than it felt they should. There was something extraordinary in its imposing shadow. It was a hungry place, full of hungry people, not hungry for meat or grain or even wine, but for knowledge of the metaphysical. Irissa, or so she was called, led them on, and before they knew it, the heavy door was shut behind them. The halls were dim. Windows were more akin to portholes, letting in narrow shafts of light so solid in the floating dust, Aela wondered if they fancied themselves support beams. Apparently there were no custodians among these mages. It was dim, given the scarcity of these skylights, but the lichen eyes of the companions had little difficulty piercing the gloom. Banners hung from the walls, bearing a spiraling emblem not dissimilar from a conjuration rune. The smell of ozone scorched the close air, the same scent that followed Anno's lightning. The room was wide, doorways flanking them at regular intervals, but the geography of the space drew them on, leading straight back to a flight of stairs. Sitting on these steps was another figure, an imperial girl by looks, all robes and unkempt hair, poring over a book. As they approached, Aela noted that the woman guiding them had not removed her hood. Clearly it wasn't the sun she was hiding from.
Oi!
Their guide said as they came to the stairs. The imperial girl looked up, startled, just in time to have her book snatched out of her hands. Irissa, though not tall, towered over the girl in this position.
These two need to speak to the caller. Take them through.
The Imperial sputtered.
What the? Why can't you?
The hooded woman had already turned her back and was now shamelessly thumbing through the book. She snapped it shut with authority and glanced menacingly over her shoulder.
You would have me abandon my post?
She shoved the tome into Anno's arms and wheeled on the girl, her back to the light.
You would have me disobey our master?
I didn't say that. I just...
Good.
Irissa cut her off and turned away, making for the entrance.
That's a smart girl. See you around.
The Imperial stood up, but Aela watched the fight in her eyes die as she realized she was now alone with them.
Well, I suppose I could show you to the caller.
Anno offered a sympathetic smile and handed the book back to her.
We're sorry for the inconvenience. I assure you we wouldn't interrupt your studies if we didn't have to.
Oh, it's fine.
Aela could see the girl blush under Anno's golden eyes.
I was going cross-eyed anyway.
Liminal bridges.
the Redgaurd said, nodding toward the tome.
I could never get my head around that one.
Oh yeah, it's a toughie. Oh God, why did I say that?
I remember I could never get past the bit about sigil stones, how they're specimens of pre-mythic quasi-crystalline morpholith that has been transformed into an extra-dimensional artifact. That one stopped me in my tracks.
Oh, well, I mean, I could help you with that, if you like.
Sure, we'll make a date.
The Imperial's blush deepened.
What? Yeah, what?
The Redgaurd only grinned a wolfish grin.
You got a name, little miss?
Elana.
Pleased to make your acquaintance.
Anno was a bastard. A total bastard. And about as objectively beautiful as men get in Skyrim. Aela had to stifle a grin. But he had this way when he wanted to, and oblivion if it didn't come in useful. She sighed out her mirth and fine-tuned her focus, which, at the moment, wasn't difficult. Especially when she noted that the abrupt departure of their guide had not been accompanied by the heavy sound of the front door. The pathway to the inner sanctum was tinged with madness, at least to Aela's judgment. Anno, on the whole, seemed unbothered. First came the rooms of study, where several other mages and apprentices could be seen decorating the tables and floors with half-read books and meandering scrolls. They smelled of unwashed sweat, dust, and old parchment. Then came the rooms of practice, where wood and straw dummies had been set up not unlike those at Jorrvaskr. Yet, rather than being riddled with cut and arrow marks, they bore burns, and in some places seemed to have been burst from within. An instructor ordered the students around like soldiers learning to fire and volley. However, before the Technicolor light show could begin, the companions had moved on. Next came the rooms of experiments. The smell of alchemical reagents made Aela's toes curl. Some were as sweet as honey, some as vile as skeever venom. She would have picked up her heels and hurried past the rooms had she not heard a cracking voice shout in protest. Anno again didn't flinch. He was absorbed, or rather absorbing, their new guide in conversation. Against her better judgment, Aela doubled back and peeked inside one of the rooms. It bore all the accoutrements of a laboratory. Shelves of ingredients, diagrams hung on the walls, burbling beakers on the counters. One curious addition was an Altmer, a high elf, splayed out on a table, his limbs bolted down by thick straps, his form perforated by needles and curious tubes. She would have dismissed the elf for a corpse, were it not for his ragged breaths. "Please," he wept, voice hoarse. "Please, you said that was the last one." "It's not my fault that the results were so unexpected. It would be irresponsible to not follow up with the utmost haste." The second voice turned her stomach in its coolness, its unfeeling logic. A hooded shape obscured the elf, but before Aela could glean any details, a hand found her shoulder. She turned to see Anno, face serious.
"Let's go,"
he said simply.
Anno.
I know.
There was a dim, red flickering behind his gaze.
Keep moving.
Onward, up a semicircle of stairs to the final door. Their guide knocked. The sound echoed down the curving hall. No steps on stone, no swishing of robes was heard before the door unlatched and swung open. Most uncanny of all, no one was standing there to open it. It swung away unaided, creaking lightly, revealing a broad circular room. A bright light from above illuminated an empty basin at its center. At the edge was a podium, and behind the podium, at the epicenter of this sickening place, was a woman. Her robes had a light sheen to them, unlike the weather-worn threads of their guide. They were midnight blue with pale marble accents. Slowly the figure raised its face to them, yellow gold skin, and tall, stretched features. Another Altmer, thumbing a thick tome resting on the podium. She spoke in a soft voice that nonetheless filled the space to its entirety.
To what do I owe this interruption?
Caller?
The young Imperial bowed as the three of them stepped forward.
I have 2 outsiders I was asked to bring to you.
And what use do I have for outsiders?
The caller asked evenly. A chill ran down Aela's spine. Danger. Anno must have felt it too, as he wordlessly drew the pendant out of his pocket and handed it to her behind his back.
I don't know. Someone from the front brought them in. They said I was to lead them to you.
Who brought them in?
I don't know. I didn't recognize her.
Did that not seem odd to you?
I don't know.
What do you know?
Please, I was just studying, and...
Suddenly, as if she were pulled by some unseen rope, the girl flew to the left, into one of what Aela now saw were many iron-barred cages lining the room. She crunched into the back wall, and the iron door slammed shut with a reverberating clang.
No!
Her cry of despair was cut off abruptly as the caller lazily swiped a hand in her direction. Aela's eyes stayed locked on that cage, watching the young mage scream, flail, and rage against the bars, all without a single audible sound escaping. As she scanned the room, she saw quite a number of the cages were occupied. Some shapes lay in heaps, some sat against the wall, and a couple stood, gripping the bars. All were unnaturally silent. Between them hung those banners from the entrance, all bearing the same spiraling pattern.
Step forward,
The caller ordered, and Anno did so, practically dragging Aela by the wrist.
My.
The Altmer began as the pair came into the light.
Of all the sanctimonious blowhards and brown-nosing sycophants I thought would come gallivanting into my valley, I was not expecting the companions of Jorvaskr.
Believe me, the surprise is mutual. We bring no quarrel, and in truth we had no knowledge of your designs here.
The woman turned a page on the thick tome before her.
And do you suppose you do now?
What?
Have knowledge of my designs?
No. None.
Anno glanced to Aela.
We come only with questions.
That's not all you come with.
If it would bring us closer to the answers we seek, we'll happily leave our weapons outside.
Aela flinched. She wanted to kick him for that. Give up their weapons? After what they had seen?
That's very kind of you, but I don't need your allowances or comfort. What I speak of is a trade.
I'm not sure I follow.
More than bow, more than blade, you've also brought me Hircine's beast blood.
Anno didn't have a second to react before suddenly he too was sent flying into a cage. Aela! He yelled before he, like the girl, was cut off. The huntress stood, frozen, rage burning so hot she thought steam might be lifting from her form.
Aela the Huntress,
The caller said, voice dripping with oil.
the Wolf of Whiterun, the great shield maiden of Jorvaskr, heir to the legacy of Herotu Blackblade.
She flipped the thick tome closed and turned her attention entirely to the woman before her.
Oh, take off that hood, girl. You do your mother a disservice.
The huntress did so, letting her red locks fall loose around her shoulders, and fixed the caller with her steel blue eyes.
You knew my mother, then?
Many knew her. The Crimson Archer.
I've always known mages like you to be unconcerned with the goings-on of common folk.
Unconcerned, yes. Oblivious, no.
She stepped to the side, dragging her fingers over the edge of the podium. She inspected the lack of dust they accumulated.
And Alarine was anything but common, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
Enough banter. Your friend is in my custody, so I think you've earned an answer to your question.
Why don't you let him ask it?
Would you like to trade places with him then?
Aela was silent.
I've been very patient, girl, but again you insult me. Do not pretend he was the brains behind this endeavor. You don't need honeyed words. You need clarity. Ask your question.
Aela brandished the pendant before her.
Several days ago, you were attacked by a group of rogue mages. They wore this around their necks. I understand one of them is still alive. My questions are for him.
Interesting.
The caller's elf eyes glinted.
What ties could your Vasker possibly have with a band of arcane lunatics?
I could tell you, but I get the feeling that wouldn't be as fun.
The caller's gaze narrowed. Aela's didn't waver. Then, with a flick of a finger, one of the cages opened and a tumbling bundle came skidding out. It stopped abruptly before her, a man, Nordic by his features, but not by his build. He was pathetic and bent, his face was drawn, and the eyes that peered up at her were hollow. Suddenly his body stiffened, and he knelt upright before her. Pain contorted his features. It was as if he was being squeezed in some giant fist. The movement nearly made her sick.
Go ahead.
Said the caller.
Ask your questions.
Aela glared at the whimpering man before her. Sympathy. So much sympathy. But no time to allow it a moment to breathe. She smothered it along with her rage, her fear, and her grief. She held out the pendant, letting it drift before his eyes.
You know this pendant?
The pendant. The pendant.
The man croaked absently. Drool trickled from the corner of his mouth and matted his wispy blonde beard. Suddenly his eyes locked onto the sign of the eclipse and grew wide.
Yes, sister. Sister of the silent moons. You... you have come.
Aela rolled with it.
I am told you attacked this place. Why did you do that?
Attack? No. Why attack? The town is whispering. Cannot stay. The whispers were getting loud. This place is welcoming. Many mages. No attack.
No attack?
No attack. Why attack? Why?
A look of genuine befuddlement came over the man's face. Aela's eyes narrowed.
Do you remember the cave by the river?
Yes. You there too. There was a man, an old blind man. He was kind. Very kind.
Okay, why did you leave that cave?
Didn't leave. Why leave? Old man was kind. Rain was heavy. Fire was warm. Man was blind. You remember?
Did you attack them too?
Aela prodded, but the man's brow was sinking low. More confusion? Perhaps anger?
I don't. We don't attack. We are not battle mages. We are enchanters. Why would we attack?
I don't know. Why would you?
I...
Suddenly the man's head and neck started thrashing. His eyes locked onto hers, and she saw pure, blood-drunk rage. His teeth were gritted, and the veins in his neck seemed fit to burst. His fingers were convulsing like tortured spiders, magic, repressed, and impotent. She was certain that were his arms not pinned to his sides, they would be flailing at her. She knelt before him and inspected those bloodshot eyes, clenched jaw, and quivering lips. After a moment, she held up the pendant again, and the man slowly began to calm.
Sister,
He gasped.
you have come.
What did you make? What did you enchant?
Weapons, armor, and focuses. We found a way. We crafted a forge in an old Nordic temple bolstered by the light of Massar and Secunda. It catalyzed the enchanting process. Powerful magical infusions made in a fraction of the time. Think of the bounty. A provincial civil war, a neutral hold. We could sell to both sides. They're plenty desperate enough. But there was a problem. The forge could only be used by the light of the moons. Sure. But the same went for the enchantments. And what good is that to an army? We were so close to finding a solution. So close.
Aela nodded sympathetically.
But now you're here.
Yes.
Why?
Why?
Why did you leave?
We wouldn't. We shouldn't. But we had to go. It was time for us all to go.
Why was it time?
It had to be so, I was told. We were told. We were dying.
Aela's eyes narrowed.
Dying?
There was blood.
Your blood?
Yes!
Who spilt it? Who told you to leave?
The man's rage did not return. Rather, a clarity washed across his features, unlike anything he'd shown prior.
I don't remember.
Well,
Aela licked her lips, feeling the answers drawing close.
I suppose we should get back there with all haste. Remind me, where is this lunar forge of ours?
Northwest of the Jarl City, near the border of the Pale. It's buried in the foothills just east of the Volkic Pass.
Aela ground a fist into the stone below her and stood, her emerald eyes lifted from the pitiful man to she who held dominion over the moment.
That'll be all.
In a blink, the man was wrenched away, back into shadow. Aela kept her eyes locked ahead, staring past the thrashing and muted screaming in her periphery. The caller brushed her hands off emphatically.
How tantalizingly vague.
She mused.
Still, the deal is done. You may leave, daughter of Ysgramor, with your life and your liberty.
The huntress didn't move, but her eyes flitted to Anno's cage. The man was pacing like a caged beast, eyes flickering crimson.
You claim to have known my mother?
She said. The high elf blinked.
I did for a time, but a deal was not made for those answers.
Aela's muscles thrummed, waiting on the cusp of action.
Then it's a good thing this question is rhetorical. How do you suppose my mother would react to such an offer?
The caller's stoic face split into a grin, and in the same instant, Aela darted forward. Whatever arcane force had so quickly dispatched the others slammed into her like the swing of a giant's club. She felt the air box her ears like an almighty slap. She saw herself hurtling towards another waiting cage. Summoning every bit of acrobatics she could, she twisted in midair and found the bars with her boots. She stood a moment parallel to the ground, buoyed by the same force trying to crush her. Veins bulging, hair whipping, she drew her bow and shot an eagle-fletched arrow at the caller. The shaft wavered in its flight, and a split second later was flying back at her. She spun away and ran sideways along the cages until the force pressing her relented. She fell to the floor, and at her first touch sprung again toward the mage. In truth, Aela was unaccustomed to reading the faces of Altmer, but the caller did seem taken aback. She swung a hand down, and the huntress was suddenly 10 times her weight. A light load for the Wolf of Whiterun. With nary a stumble, her powerful thighs carried her on, flying faster than a diving falcon. The caller twisted to avoid the coming blow. Aela swiped with her Skyforged dagger, and red painted the stone at the mage's back. The victory was short-lived. A great gust rose from beneath, and Aela was tossed into the air. The stone ceiling slammed into her back, and she was held there, splayed out like a decoration. The pressure on her chest was light, but an icy wind gripped her ankles and wrists. She couldn't gather herself. She couldn't move. She fought, trying to bring her limbs together, but it was no good. Ripples ran through her flesh as the unstoppable force continued.
Two lichens it is, then.
The caller jeered.
Divine save me from fools. All this potential and you choose to be an animal.
A clap rang out in the hollow space. Then another. And another. The caller and the huntress both looked to the door as a shrouded figure stepped in.
Good show,
The woman called, and immediately Aela recognized the voice of the woman who had led them into the tower.
very good show. I honestly thought for a moment that I had actually met my match. Whatever would I do against a genuine user of force magic? But no, as this incredible woman has shown, that you are merely a wind elemental.
Who are you?
Oh, please, caller, or whatever your name is. You must have been expecting me. Ever since this one showed up on your doorstep.
The figure stepped aside to reveal the shaking form of another Altmer, bare-chested, emaciated frame, still bleeding punctures on his arms and sides. "Please, I'm sorry. Please just let me go," he whimpered.
Orthorn.
The caller growled dangerously.
If you're loose, where's Abrith?
Where isn't Abrith?
The faceless woman began removing her robes.
Also, I wouldn't hold my breath if you're waiting on whoever these belonged to.
A moment later, a Breton stood before them, a fair, elegant face marked by a long scar that did little to tame that smug expression. Lightly pointed ears peeked out from long, raven-black hair that faded to a stark white at the tips. Her underrobes were of tighter, more athletic make, and a blue that bordered both gray and teal. Her eyes, which remained fixed on the caller, were a silvery gray.
I see.
Breathed the caller.
You're one of Orag's little puppets. Come for his precious books, I take it.
Oh, your deductive powers are staggering.
The Breton grinned, tapping her satchel with a finger.
And for the most part, I have succeeded. However, there is one particular that I have need for. That one.
She pointed to the podium.
Night of Tears, unless I've missed my guess.
The caller looked to the podium, and back to the Breton.
I seem to recall the college was poking around Sarthal.
Her elf eyes widened.
You found something, didn't you?
The stranger shrugged.
College business.
College business.
The caller hissed. Suddenly she motioned with her hand, and Aela was sent careening into the far wall. Her head cracked against the stone, and she slumped to the ground, vision swimming.
How about a trade? The book for the secrets of Sarthal.
No, thank you. I've seen what a deal with you comes to.
The caller sneered.
Tell me what you found, or join my gallery.
Sorry, Elf, you should have been there. Sounds like you knew we were, but instead you chose to stay cooped up in here, tricking fools and being generally heinous.
The caller scoffed and raised her hand.
It's no matter. I can squeeze the truth out of you easily enough.
The Breton's smile grew.
I couldn't imagine a better end to this conversation.
A stillness fell on the room. A harsh, unnatural stillness, coupled with a silence that defied reason. Aela's ears popped. Her head lolled to the side where she saw Anno on his knees, gripping the bars and screaming at her. She saw the urgency in his eyes and read the shape of his lips. Big cloud? Big loud? Get loud? Get down?
Get down!
The huntress kissed the floor, covering her head and ears just as an overpowering, omnidirectional blast crashed through the room. Stones fell from the skylight as it was involuntarily widened. Dust kicked up from all corners, and suddenly the voices, groans, and haggard breaths of the people in the cages could be heard. The caller was knocked back into the wall, into a pair of banners. She pressed her palms into them, and suddenly they burned away. The stone surged forward, two towering, hovering creatures born of stone and bound by crackling electricity. No sooner had the storm Atronachs appeared did 2 lassos of lightning strike out and catch them both by the neck. The Breton whipped the flickering ropes down, and the elemental constructs were dashed against the floor, scattering into rubble. Fear, plain and clear, flashed across the caller's face. She swirled her hands together, and a pale blue portal opened. It was difficult to tell if the thing being born was coming through the portal or being congealed by it, assembled by the moisture in the surrounding air. A hulking frost Atronach, there 1 second, and missed the next, replaced by the Breton, arms wide as though she had just thrown open some curtains. The caller's hands came forward, and the two shot away from each other. The Breton caught herself and lowered into a fighter's stance, frost coalescing at her edges. She struck out, and the icicles shot forward like flying darts. Through the crack of her elbow, the huntress saw what happened. The caller sent another blast of air forward to knock her opponent back and knock her darts from the sky. In the split second that followed, the Breton raised one hand, tossing the shards up above the coming gust, spun, seeming to absorb or dispel the wind, and brought her other hand down, sending the shards like a rain of spikes into the caller. The ice splintered and shattered against the stone. The high elf, arms still outstretched, wavered a moment, dark red spots starting to spread all over her blue robes. Just when it seemed she might crumple, another lasso of electricity bound her neck, and she was whipped through the door, out of the room, and through the stone wall to presumably become a pile of gore and robes on the front steps. The Breton shook her shoulders out, cracked her back, and strode easily over to the toppled podium. After a moment's searching, she found the book and stowed it in her now slightly overstuffed satchel. Aela gathered herself and stood with the aid of the wall.
Aela!
She heard, and looked to Anno. He was currently bending the metal door to his cage.
Could I get a hand?
He said.
Sure.
2 lichens were more than a match for that old iron. However, as soon as the door was opened with a pop, a litany of calls and cries rang out.
Wait! Get me too! I'm not supposed to be here! Let me out!
Please, don't forget me! Aela blinked at the din.
Where are the keys?
Probably on the collar,
said Anno. Aela walked to the freshly made hole in the wall and looked down.
Oh, her scene. We gotta go.
What is it?
All the mages are coming this way.
Oh, good,
said the Breton.
Though you might want to get clear, companions.
Why?
Said Anno.
Who are you?
Names can wait, handsome. I'm the Storm of Winterhold, and I'm about to wipe this place off the map.
The 2 circle members glanced at each other.
No, you're not,
said Aela.
No one can.
But Anno had already run to the cage where the young Imperial had been shunted.
You're welcome to stick around if you want a front row seat, but again, I don't recommend it. Feel free to warn any that you think deserve it, but I've seen enough. Thanks for helping me get inside, by the way.
Aela, help me!
Called Anno. The huntress shot the Breton one more incredulous look, then bolted to his side. Creak, pop, and the door was open.
Thank you.
The Imperial managed before she was out the door.
On to the next. Come on.
A breeze began to pick up in the room. Bend, pop! It whirled like a dust devil before suddenly picking up into a typhoon. Bend, pop! Another dirty yet grateful shape darting past them. Aela looked over her shoulder. The Breton stood stock still in the center of a thickening veil of wind and ice. Bend, pop! Kneeling at her feet was the Altmer that had been splayed out in the laboratory. Over the howling tumult, she could just make out their words. Please, just let me go. I've suffered enough. You saw what they were doing to me.
Oh, Orthorn. Don't you see? You were never theirs to torment.
Aela, we have to go!
Anno urged. The wind beating at her face had teeth, sharp, icy teeth. She squinted over. 3 doors down, the unstable lunar enchanter was peering out at them.
Wait, we need to get him.
She shouted.
What do we need him for?
What did you need her for?
She countered. Pressing forward, a hand grabbed her arm from a nearby cage. She pulled out of its grasp, but suddenly her feet could not find traction. She was slipping. The wind was on the verge of picking her up.
Aela!
Anno called. She could barely hear him now over the howling din. Aela got low, digging her boots into the stone. Suddenly the Redguard's hand was around her ankle. A small lift was all it took. Next thing, the pair were skating, and hurtling out the door. They half jumped, half flew out the hole left by the collar, and with Hircine's agility, leapt their way down, a story with each bound, until, panting, they reached the ground. It was chaos. Mages everywhere, some vengeful, some fearful, some running inside, some heading for the hills. "For the collar!" came a deranged scream, and Anno spun, parrying a firebolt with a ward and slashing through its caster with his scimitar.
Run!
He called, blade ready, lightning crackling in his other hand. They ran out, past the outer wall, past where the dramatic standoff had occurred, and in the distance they saw the maddest thing they had seen all day.
Charge!
Hamel, Aethys, and Rhea were coming their way, weapons drawn, hurtling rocks, clearly having just set out on a daring rescue mission.
Turn around!
Aela shouted.
For the love of Talos, turn your butts the fuck around!
They got the message quickly and turned tail, stowing their weapons. Anno and Aela were soon even with them. "What's happening?" asked Aethys as a boulder the size of a large dog crashed down several yards away.
This isn't us! Just run!
Did you get what we needed?
Rhea panted before tripping on a stone. Aela caught her by the belt, and after a moment, carrying the girl like luggage, stood her back up.
Yes, we got it. Move!
Where's Baki?
Asked Anno.
He's watching the horses!
Shouted Hamel. As if on cue, the drumming of hooves rose up out of the bedlam, and Baki appeared. Short black hair tossing as majestically as it could manage, riding up on his black mare, the 5 other horses in tow.
Baki, you're my hero!
Panted Anno as they all hoisted themselves into the saddles, Aela practically leaping onto Pebble. "I'm where I'm supposed to be!" The warrior shrugged, and the companions thundered out of the thundering valley. From a safe and distant ridge, the companions watched as Fellglow Keep disappeared. The ball of swirling magic, wind, ice, and the occasional bolt of lightning proved more than a match for the weather-beaten stone. First, the top floor fell away, throwing paving stones like skipping rocks, revealing the terrible core of destruction, the spherical floating eye of the storm. Then, as if struck by a great hammer, the second and first floor crumbled in on themselves. The outer walls were pushed even further askew, and the spiraling ball shot up into the sky. The blast roared like a hurricane in the valley, and the trees and boughs above their heads wailed and cracked in the whipping wind. When the swirling orb disappeared over the distant ridges, flying northeast to the lands of frost and chill, Fellglow Keep, in every way that mattered, was gone. It was not a fort. It was a wreck. It was not a ruined castle. It was a ruin. It was not a keep, but a crater.
What in the name of Azura was that?
Aethys breathed.
Someone we better hope we never run into again,
said Aela bitterly. Anno wiped some sweat from his forehead, but so absorbed was he in awe, he only ended up wiping it all over his jaw.
I've never seen anything like that.
Who were they?
Asked Rhea. Anno turned to her, eyes wide.
Most practitioners of destruction magic only gain proficiency in one medium. Or element, you might say. For me, it's lightning. I have a natural disposition for it. The other elements would take an immense amount of time to learn, even beyond the level of a parlor trick. It's like trying to learn a different language, but your body can only physically understand so much. So no matter what you do, your speech is rough and broken.
Okay, I think I'm following.
That mage, She was using 3 elements congruently and at a master level. That explosion, that was her. Wind, frost, lightning, all at once, interlaced, and to a magnitude I've never seen. The Storm of Winterhold, she called herself. What in Nern are they doing in Winterhold? Was she... No. She was too young for the Great Collapse. But maybe...
Okay, Anno. You've stopped making sense.
Hamel said, rummaging by his belt.
Take some water.
Yeah. Thanks.
The Redgaurd took a swig, but his eyes remained distant.
What about you, Aela?
Aethys prodded.
You're awful quiet. What did you learn?
The huntress was looking at her hands, wringing Pebble's reins. She looked to the dark elf, then leaned her head back and sighed.
I learned that I made a very bad mistake.
What, coming here was a mistake?
No, all of this was. The searches, the checkpoints, everything I did was based on one critical assumption. The carriage tracks. They were heading south, that much was true, and the farm workers were killed with the tools they used to repair the carriage still in their hands. That much is true. But from that, I assumed that the riders of the carriage must be responsible for the slaughter of the farm. The timing lined up too perfectly. Ergo, the vampires and the girl were in the carriage. Ergo, the vampires and the girl were moving south. Ergo, the checkpoints, the searches, everything we did was working south of the Lorius farm.
And that was not correct?
Stranger told me how vampires can get into your head, compel you to do things without knowing why you're doing them, make you want to do things without knowing why you want them. He said there are scars, lingering signs, confusion.
She rubbed her fingers together as she placed the facts in order.
It's odd for mages to wander. We found a group of them in White River Watch, dead, all wearing this pendant. They had gotten in a fight with the bandits living there, then they wander out here, and again they got violent. That mage couldn't tell me why they were fighting. He couldn't tell me why they were wandering, only where they came from, not why they left.
She locked eyes with each of the group in turn.
An old Nordic temple in the foothills near the Pale, just east of Volkig Pass. That's far north of anywhere we searched. Vampires need a place to hide during the day. I've met them. They've got this sense for the dramatic, and no simple hole in the ground will do. They got in the mages' heads and sent them packing. They threw in some kind of latent rage so they'd eventually get taken out. Then they came south, attacked the farm, took the girl, and my dumbass went running in exactly the wrong direction.
The huntress reached up to snap a tree limb in frustration, but remembered she was on Pebble, and just clutched her hair and shrunk into herself.
Gods, I just wanted to get to her as quickly as possible.
A hand found her shoulder, then another. She looked up to see Rhea on one side and Botki on the other.
Well, starting now,
Rhea said.
we can get to her as quickly as possible.
Exactly. So what's next? Added Botki.
Yeah, don't beat yourself up. We're with you,
Said Aethys. Hamel nodded.
I actually was there with you. And I missed it too.
Aela swallowed, tossed her hair back, and took a steadying breath.
We need to get back to Sheerstep. We have to get the word out. Anno, they didn't lose their pigeons in the fire, did they?
We'd better hope not,
Said the Redgaurd, finally coming back to the present.
We'll send missives to the towers, Dragon's Reach and Yervasker.
And after that,
We need to muster. What's closest to Volkig Pass?
Rorikstead?
Suggested Hamel. Rhea shook her head.
No, too far. I think there's a watchtower near Robber's Bend, but...
Nah, there's no helping it.
Aela whipped Pebble's reins, and the mare took off in a trot.
We're going back to Pale Watch.
The moons rose on a misty night in northern Whiterun. Rain was but a day or so away, but until the clouds mustered their might and unleashed their torrential onslaught, the moisture remained scattered and leaderless, roaming free in every breath of air and resting on every blade of grass. That verdant grass, thick with life, was ringing with the songs of insects. Lights of fireflies seemed ghostly in the gloom. Beauty, bliss, and, to the hobbling wretch, sanctuary. Those lazy water droplets in the grass found abrupt coalition on the dirty hems of his trousers as he shuffled up the singing hills. Before long, the wretch found itself in a large stone amphitheater. Nordic runes and filigree ran across the walls and steps like creeping ivy. Up, up, up the shriveled husk climbed, shadows and shade gathering around it, till finally it ducked into the high sepulchre of this ancient temple. Out of ragged clothes came blackened, wizened limbs, long fingers with claw-like nails, pitched charcoal. With those hellish digits it dragged itself up to a pair of regal leather boots.
Malico? Is that you? I'd almost taken you for a dragar till you started climbing the steps.
The wretch rolled over and looked up into the roiling eyes of a vampire.
You cur. You've been watching me since then, and didn't think to lift a finger.
How am I to blame? It is your agony that was so entertaining.
Save it for the prey. Vavani.
The wretch's face was drawn yet purple like a bruise.
I say, your skin is hanging off your bones.
The vampire crouched, revealing a brown, elvish face, dark hair falling to the side, and a sharp-toothed grin.
What in Nirn happened?
He's been caught.
Came a new voice, and another shadow now stood above.
Pierced right through his center.
It brushed the loose shirt aside with a toe to reveal the long, dark fissure, lined with a cracked crust like dried bark.
Drodis, back from Brorikstead, I see.
And successful, unlike yourself.
Don't be smug. I've brought the Whiterun Guard to their knees. I slayed them. I broke their minds. And crippled their border.
And you call that success?
Came a third voice as a pale-skinned Imperial came into view.
What else should I call it, Gina?
Success doesn't account for your appearance.
I had a run-in with the hounds of Jorvaskar.
Vavani raised her eyebrows.
They were in sheer step?
Yes.
The dogs did this.
Drodis pushed. The wretch hissed at them, a gurgling, animalistic sound.
They had someone else, a mortal, who could see.
A new voice rose, not the hissing rattles of the others, but a deep velvet rumble.
Even worse, Malico.
The three vampires above stepped away, and the shriveled fiend sat up. A high elf was pacing over, pearly fangs barely hidden by pouting lips. The wretch rolled laboriously to his knees and bowed low.
Alkinor.
Are you saying a mortal did this? Pray.
Yes.
The wretch swallowed.
It is true.
The high elf shook his head like a disappointed parent.
How could you allow this?
He could see! I don't know how, but he could see!
And you can kill?
Alkinor scolded.
You are faster, stronger. Any one of your gifts could have cut this loose end.
The wretch panted.
I have no excuse. I am ashamed.
Yes, you are.
The vampire confirmed before stepping away. The four terrors stood around the wide room, leaning on stone and reclining in the dim light of the moons as it drifted in through the open altar where the wreck of an unused forge still lay. The blackened husk reached out to the pale Imperial.
Gina, blood.
What do you need blood for?
Curse you! I had to eat squirrels just to get back here. Filthy squirrels. Where is that blood bag of yours?
The vampire woman's mouth curled into a mocking laugh.
Why should we waste clean, virgin blood on you? In your state, you'd drink her dry. She'll die.
Then she dies. Since when do we care for the lives of cattle?
She is a prized vintage. You are a failure. Again, why would I waste her on you?
Malico slammed his fist into the stone and winced as it did not give way.
I don't see you out there, putting the fear of the night into the masses.
Nor do you see her getting caught by mere mortals!
Shouted Alkinor, marching over, once more towering over the husk of Malico.
A mistake,
he pleaded.
One mistake. Sheerstep is terrorized. The border guard is decimated.
And you've brought our designs into the light. Terror, Malico. Terror. Uncertainty. Whispers. Resentment against the Jarl. Then, when the time is right, we make for the throne and have an entire hold at our disposal. Whiterun is the fulcrum upon which Skyrim will turn. What a gift it is! What a prize for our lord! Now, thanks to you, we may have armies to reckon with. We may need to wrestle the hold away from Ulfric Stormcloak and his rebellion. Whiterun must remain strong. What prize is it? We cannot rule a graveyard. We cannot feed on bones. Balance, Malico. That was the plan.
Alkinor,
the wretch hissed.
I have proven my strength. I have bested the wolf of Whiterun.
And I corrupted the Crimson Archer.
The vampire roared.
And I didn't need a single thrall to do it. Do not speak to me of Hircine's hounds. I know their claws and cunning, and I have painted the years with their blood.
The husk cowered low, shaking.
Alkinor.
This mortal, what did they look like?
It was a man. Imperial, I thought him, but ratty. No warrior, but a wanderer. Dark hair, scars, and he...
The husk wiped his mouth nervously.
He was missing a finger.
Alkinor's towering frame bent, bringing his serpentine face but inches from the wretch.
Fear not, Malico. The beautiful night is coming. The tyranny of the sun shall end. Our Lord has seen it. How I wish you could have.
Please.
The word almost made the High Elf flinch. He sighed.
Such a shame. You die like prey.
No.
Vavani, Drodis.
No!
The wretch screamed as the shades converged on him. Alkinor stepped away as Malico's screams faded like dust skittering away on a breeze.
Gina, a word,
he said. The pale Imperial woman appeared at his side.
We need to get a message to Dragon's Reach. Malico has fallen. The dogs of Hjorvaskr have joined the game. There is a nine-fingered mortal somewhere out there who can see. Proceed with caution.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Skyrim audio adventure. I finally think I've wrangled Chapter 10, so hopefully that'll be in the works soon. Until then, let's shout out the cast. Aela the Huntress was once again played by Kat Loveland. Anno was played by Cortez Johnson. Rhea was played by Naomi Melville. Hamel was played by Brennan Blotner. The Storm of Winterhold was played by Heidi Danae Crane. Hannah Hebblethwaite returns to the project as the Caller. The Silent Moon's Mage was played by Ethan Gura of Green Reaper Studios. The young mage Elana was played by Niamh Archer. And now for the vampires. Juho Sepa returns as Malico. Olu Abisogun returns to the project as Drodis. Gina was played by Hannah Stahl. Vavani was played by Aracelis Gotay. And Alkinor was played by Thomas Barker. Congratulations, you've almost made it through summer. The spooky season is on its way, and something wicked this way comes. Be well, be safe, be kind. And once again, thanks for listening.